Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Worried about going broke in retirement? Well, grab a pen and paper because you're going to want to take good notes for this one.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the WorryFree Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and four-time author, Tony Walker.
When it comes to money, one of the things we humans fear is the idea of one day running out of it, especially when it comes to the thought of going broke in retirement. Well, why is this? Well, the obvious answer is to go broke in retirement means that later in life, one will have to be financially dependent on others, which 50 or 60 years ago was not thought of as a shameful thought. In fact, my mom tells me of her grandmother that came to live with them in their home up until she passed away. In those days, families just took care of the elderly, even if they were broke. Not so today. With people living longer and longer and family less able to sometimes care for others, today, many Americans have a legitimate fear that the money they've worked so hard to save may one day run out. The reality today is that while Americans have more money than ever before, the truth of the matter is that their money and the expenses associated with living much longer are much higher and more uncertain than those of our grandparents. In other words, we have a lot less control of our money and how much will be there in the future than we think. Don't believe me? Just think about that parent of yours who in the past had all of that money and today is tossing $10,000 a month toward nursing home care or caregivers to come into their home. Or how about the saver out there that retired prior to 2008 and found themselves losing 50% of their net worth and having to go back to work? And then there is the real concern that our nation's economy, which is spending and borrowing money like there's no tomorrow, could one day go broke. All of these visions of going broke in retirement are worrisome indeed, which is why today I'm going to show you how to arm yourself with a proven plan to avoid going broke in retirement and how we at Tony Walker Financial can put a game plan in place that is more safe, more secure, and yes, able to keep you from going broke in retirement. Well, welcome folks to the WorryFree Retirement, and yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, how to not go broke in retirement specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And today, we will first diagnose why most savers do not have a game plan to keep them from going broke in retirement. And secondly, how our philosophy of live well, die broke is the solution to what ails you. But first, let me introduce to you two young lads who aren't worried about going broke in retirement because I've got them focused on the task at hand. America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orender, along with Louisville, Kentucky's most laid-back graphics artist, Mr. Derek Hudson. Okay, assuming you are a saver who is worried about this notion of going broke in retirement, ask yourself why you think this way. Is it because you feel you didn't save enough for retirement? Is it that you are worried that that piddly amount of interest over at the local bank they're paying you won't be enough in retirement? Maybe you're worried that the current high-flying stock market and your 401k will come crashing down like it did back in 2008, right smack dab in the middle of your retirement. What about the nation's debt and the rippling effect of shutting down an economy due to a pandemic? And finally, what about the impact of inflation? And what will that have on your ability to worry less about retirement? Finally, we've just got people living longer than ever before. Could it be that all of our life savings will end up going to healthcare workers trying to keep us alive in what the world calls our golden years? Well, when I return, I'm going to share with you the new number one fear of Americans and why it is creating more concern of going broke in retirement than ever before and what you can do about it. Stay tuned. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Of all the worries and fears of savers, the biggest one of them all is, of course, the fear of running out of money, which certainly fits the title of our show, How to Not Go Broke in Retirement. And while there are many reasons to have such a fear, one of the items that is fueling this fear is something the world refers to as inflation, which simply means that the dollar you have in your pocket today will be worth less in your pocket tomorrow. Now, I've covered the topic of inflation on this show before, something we like to refer to as the stealth tax, but you know what? I've really never provided a solution to this problem, which today I will. And while the inflation experts, whoever they are, tell us the cost of goods and services has only increased by about 5%, consumers are nevertheless worried sick over inflation, as evidenced by the number of people that are Googling around out there on the internet trying to understand this thing called inflation. Google searches are up 50% on the word inflation compared to the second half of 2020. Google searches are up 80% when it comes to hyperinflation, and Google searches are up 630% since mid-February for Treasury bond yields. And even if you haven't been confirming the effects of inflation by Googling around on the internet, you know it's real by evidence of how much more you are paying at the pump, how much more heat and electric bills are going to be this winter, the small amount of groceries a $100 bill is going to get you, the cost of appliances, the cost of a used car, and yes, the cost of lumber. Inflation is real, and there's no denying it. So you take that thought of prices and goods and services going up in the future, coupled with the fact that people are living much, much longer, something we in the financial world refer to as life expectancy, is it any wonder that Americans are worried about going broke in retirement? Now, rather than lamenting about the value of our dollar being eroded, what can we do now to fight the effects of inflation in an attempt to quell the fears of, well, going broke in retirement? Well, let's take a look at those. The first one is basically spend more of your money now. Now, what we're talking about here is something that I created years ago, and it's called the 3 halves of life. And what we mean by that is, while you're especially in this area, this is called halftime. This is the area of time between age 60 and usually about 70. This is when people make the big mistake of not spending and enjoying their money while they still can. And notice, granted, as you get into the second half of life, while certainly prices are going to go up, I can tell you from experience, because I have hundreds and hundreds of clients in the second half of life, your actual expenses, barring a medical catastrophe, are actually going to go down. Number 2, what else can we do to deal with inflation? Well, first of all, you need to quit chasing all these returns and instead focus on cutting those costs. And in fact, what we've done here, I'm going to show you something on this graphic. There are basically 4 costs that we at Tony Walker Financial are concerned with. In fact, one of those is interest and taxes, which we'll be talking about in the next segment. Because yes, if you're going to attack cost and not worry about returns, this is the best thing to do for savers, because savers are being duped into thinking that you've got to earn more and more interest by risking more and more money. Number 3, begin spending the principal now. Now, the late, great John Bogle had something interesting to say. I love John Bogle. He started basically the Vanguard funds, and he made a comment that in this modern day era of retirement, it's probably going to be the first time ever that savers have had to dip into principal. There is nothing wrong with that, folks, and we're going to see in a minute how you can have your cake and eat it too. That is to use your principal without the fear of running out of money. Number 4, you got to have a game plan that includes both investments and annuities. It's something we called the split IRA concept. And this is something we're really good at. Now, here's the problem. If all you've got, let's say we had all your money in the stock market, here's what can happen. So this is just my idea with the stock market. I call it the 7-year itch. Now, again, is the market going to collapse in 2022? We don't know that, but I've been in this business since 1984, and I've seen these various stock market dips, and they happen every 7 years. Now, last year with the pandemic, that was an anomaly. We're not going to count that, but here's the point. If you're getting ready to retire and you're worried about inflation and you have a stock market calamity, if this comes up in next year, well, obviously that's setting you back and the effects of inflation even doubled down on you. Not good. Okay, finally, and the fifth one, now this is kind of interesting, and this is one of my favorites. Consider an inflation-protected annuity. So what in the world is an inflation-protected annuity? Well, stay tuned. When I come back, I'm going to get the whiteboard out, and we're also going to talk about an interesting Tony in the trenches where somebody went to take money out of a 401k to pay off their house and the tax ramifications of what happened when that tax tumor reared its ugly head. You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Warning, a licensed insurance agent with no prior knowledge of annuities can legally toss your 401k into an annuity. Don't get stuck in the wrong annuity. Get a second opinion from TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for the past 36 years, I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. To meet in person at no cost or obligation, let me invite you to log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. We look forward to talking with you soon. Earlier in the show, we discussed the idea of attacking costs to fight the effects of inflation, and one of those strategies is whether to use money from a tax-infested 401k plan to pay off debt. Well, recently we had this very question, and here it is. Tony, my wife and I are thinking of purchasing a second home. Currently, our annual income is over $200,000. We wish to withdraw enough money from our IRA to put a $150,000 down payment on the second home. You talk a lot about the tax tumor. What would be the taxes I would need to pay the net to get the $150,000? Well, our own Leanne Tinsley, our tax certified specialist in the Bowling Green office, did that. Let's take a look at this. And boy, talking about the tax tumor rearing its ugly head. Let's look at this. So basically, the objective was to get $150,000 to put down on the home. Great. Well, what are the taxes of that? Now, keep in mind, most people's taxes may not be this high because this individual is making quite a bit of money. So what happens is, we're going to have to take out enough money out of the 401k, pay Uncle Sam first, that's their fair share they keep talking about, and then that income goes on top of your other income, which in this case threw this person into a 39% federal tax bracket. Not good. Also, we got to anticipate 5% in state withholdings, more taxes. So basically, the federal tax was $104,000. So folks, let's stop there a minute. When I say the money you see on your 401k statement is not all your money, now you're seeing how this plays out. Also, the state taxes immediately due were over $13,000. So let's look at the net result. Got a few goofy fees in here charged by the institution. So in summary, all right, $117,000 in taxes had to paid immediately. That means this person had to take out of their 401k or IRA $267,000 to net $150,000. So if you're sitting there right now and you go, Tony, man, I don't know what to do with this darn tax tumor I've created. This is where we can help. So right now, why don't you log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, TonyWalkerFinancial.com. If you've got a 401k, IRA, 403b lump sum pension, and if you don't have a game plan to deal with this darn tax tumor and these taxes, please let us know. We'll be happy to look at your situation to see if we can help. Okay, in our time remaining, I got to talk about something called inflation-protected annuities. Aaron, if you would, let's go on over to the whiteboard and take a look at this. So basically, in its simplest form, now by the way, I'm going to be talking about something called a fixed indexed annuity. Fixed indexed annuity. So there's really three types of fixed indexed annuities. There's annuities built for accumulation. We're not going to be talking about those a lot today. That just simply means that there's usually no fee, and as the market goes up and down, what the annuity is trying to do is capture those market gains at the highest amount possible. These are called participation rates. So this would be for somebody that says, Tony, I don't want any risk. don't want any fees. I just want something that over time is going to grow at a nice rate and it's really, really simple to monitor. You would want an accumulation annuity, and we do these all the time. It starts getting a little more complicated because if somebody says, hey, Tony, I want some of that mailbox money you're always talking about. Well, that would be what's called an income annuity, and basically there are two types of income annuities. There's income that would be paid level, that is when you decide to take your mailbox money, it's level for the rest of your life. It'll never go down, never go up. And then there's something that's getting more and more popular, and I'm beginning to really grow fond of these, called an inflation-protected income. So let's kind of look at how these work and where you might fit into this. So for instance, right out of the gate, if you're 80 years old, and depending on your life expectancy, you're probably going to want a level income. Let me give you an example. And let's just say for the heck of it, you had $300,000 in this annuity, and based on your age, the payout rate was 5%. So what that means is on an annual basis, all right, the insurance company is going to pay you this guaranteed for life. Now, it's not going to go up, it's not going to go down. So again, if you were 80 years of age and kicked this in, that would make sense. However, you might be saying, well, Tony, let's say this same scenario, I'm 65 and $15,000 a year, but I'm really worried about inflation, and plus I really don't need as much money now. I'm really worried about this idea that maybe I do need more money in the future. Who knows? Well, then we might consider what's called an inflation-protected income annuity. Now, how might this work? A little different. What the insurance company is going to do here, at that same age, let's say they may only give you $10,000 a year, okay? And you say, well, wait a minute, why would I take 10 over 15? Give me the 15. Well, here's the difference. And by the way, we've used these products for years, so we do have evidence that these things can and will usually pay more money. It just depends on the circumstances. But overall, we've got contracts. This has been happening with those contracts. The income has been going up ever since they executed their mailbox money. So let's say the market goes up by 2%, okay? What's going to happen is your income then would go up by 2% with an inflation-protected annuity. Let's say next year the market crashes. It doesn't affect your income. The income they're going to pay you stays level. That's your new floor. Let's say the following year the market goes back up a little. Now maybe your income goes up 3%. So this could happen over and over again throughout retirement. And here's the thing. If one of you, either spouse, remember we talked earlier, in fact, Aaron, let's throw up that graphic of life expectancy. Because life expectancy just means the average amount of time someone's going to live at a particular age. I mean, your life expectancy instead of 80 or 85 or whatever, it could be 100. I've got a client whose parents, both of them passed away in their hundreds. So with an annuity, you are not going to run out of money. And if you think one of the spouses might live a long time, you might opt for one or both. You might want to try both of these, but you definitely might want to consider an inflation-protected annuity in hopes that that income will keep growing and growing and growing to keep up with the effects of inflation. So folks, here's what I would suggest. If you really don't understand annuities, or maybe you've been reading a lot of this jargon from investment people that tell you that annuities are a bad thing, these are the only products. Here's the facts. These are the only products that can guarantee you won't go broke in retirement. To learn more about annuities, why don't you do this right now? There's two things you can do, actually. You can go to the website, TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and in the download section, you can download our guide, Annuities Made Easy. Folks, I've written about as many annuities in the country. I've been using these products for years, and I'm well versed in both investments and annuities, and this would be a great guide for you to learn the truth about annuities. Second thing you can do is say, Tony, I want to learn more about these inflation-protected annuities and get a game plan and have you all look at everything, deal with my tax tumor. How do I go about that? Very easy. Just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click the Let's Get Started, or if you like, just call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, we're getting ready to talk about the Bible, and one of the things I've found is people watching this show, some of them are very tuned in to what I have to say about the Bible, and this next comment from a prospective client is some really good stuff to help you prioritize your life, your money, and most importantly, your relationship with God. Good stuff coming your way. Let me get a cup of coffee. I'll be right back. Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. You know, we care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started. It is estimated that each day over 10,000 people will turn 65, which means a lot of advisors selling a lot of annuities. Don't get stuck in the wrong annuity. Get a second opinion from TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Yesterday, while meeting with a new prospective client who just happens to watch this show on a regular basis, thank you very much, she made the following comment. She said, "Tony, of all the advisors I've met and worked with over the years, you are the first one who has," and she used this word, "empowered me to better understand what it means to be a good steward of my money." Now, since I had never received such specific feedback like this, I asked her why she felt this way. She responded, "Because no one else has ever challenged me to ask myself this question. Would I rather have more money in the future," which is all the financial advisors ever want to seem to talk about, she said, "or be a better steward now of the money I already have?" I think this young lady is onto something, and therein lies the difference between the motivation for what I do each day versus the majority of other advisors who wake up and have no clue why they are even in this business in the first place. You see, when all is said and done, all of this stuff, it's not about the money, nor how much of it you have, but rather how at peace you are with the money you have right now. The question should be not how much to spend or give of this money, but how much you honor God with it. If God is not the priority and affection of our lives, then it is my firm belief in the end we shall surely be disappointed with it. Prior to becoming a follower of Jesus Christ, I approached money and life just like every other advisor. Give the best advice I could based on this faulty notion that in order to be happy in life, you got to have a bunch of money, and realizing, as noted by King Solomon, according to the world's wealthiest man ever, that the world thinks that money is truly the answer for everything, which it's not. I know this truth to be self-evident. As a student in college majoring in psychology, I recall getting caught up in something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which suggests that over our lifetime, we start from the bottom of the pit of life and try to, best we can, work ourselves up until we find ourselves, whatever in the heck that means. This whole thing called life begins and ends with us trying to figure out who we are and why we are here. Pretty scary stuff if you ask me. Thankfully, in 1991, when God intervened in my life, I now turn to His wisdom rather than the wisdom of the world, and thus I know who I am, who I serve, and why God put me here in the first place. Not sure who you serve? Well, just look at where your focus and affections lie, because you will be serving something, and Jesus taught us this in Matthew 6:21, where He says, "Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." In other words, to truly serve and love others, we don't want to start at the bottom and work our way up trying to find ourselves. No, we are instructed to put our faith at the top with God and allow His love and His affections to work their way down. Now, in a feeble and humble attempt to teach others about this truth, I've been sharing a series of lessons to my fellow churchgoers entitled Love Not the World, with my primary focus on 1 John 2:15 and 16, and also Matthew 6:24. I'm trying to help others deal with this predicament Christians find themselves in each and every day. That is, how do we live and interact in the real world of money and possessions, yet not fall in love with them? One of the ways I personally try to strike a balance of being in the world as opposed to being of the world is this simple little graphic that I shared with the congregation at church, a graphic that starts with God and ultimately ends with God. Let's take a look at this. So what I've basically done, first of all, I start with God. And that is my priority. Everything stems from serving Him because I know it's going to start with Him, and eventually when I'm dead and gone, fortunately, it ends with Him. Then underneath God, my highest priority here on earth is my spouse, Susan. This is the person I made a vow to before God that I would serve. So she is my main priority under God. Then we fall under spouse. That would be my immediate family, my children. Again, those who are, we could just say, blood relatives that I need to take care of and try to serve. Underneath this, and this is going to surprise you, but for me personally, this is my mission field. I often call myself the money missionary because my clients are next in line. It is the clients that I believe God has entrusted me to take care of. Over 2,500 folks now, and it is a huge obligation and responsibility, and one I take very seriously. In fact, this is why I have so many staff and have other fiduciaries and have business continuation plans in place so that when I die, not if I die, hopefully everything's set up to take care of those clients whom I've been committed to serve. Underneath my clients is my staff. And I remind my staff that my clients come first, but if I take care of my staff, currently we're closed on Fridays, I pay them well, I give them vacation time, because I want those staff members to love what they do, and when they're at work, they are there to serve those clients. Next, underneath my staff would be all others. That could be people at church. That could be someone I'm trying to assist. That could be friends, golfing buddies. But they fall in line next. So hopefully as you look at something like this, now depending on if you're married or have children, but hopefully you can diagram something like this out and you're seeing what I'm trying to do here. And that is everything starts with God and ends with God, as John reminds us in 1 John 2:17. So he is the one that abides forever, and hopefully you can take that to the bank as you learn to deal with the things of this world. Amen? Well, how about you? Are you sick and tired of looking for love in all the wrong financial places? Do you feel like the financial world is more concerned about their well-being rather than yours? Well, if that's how you feel, we need to talk. That's all we have to do. Just like the young lady who recently took the initiative to respond to this TV show and took advantage of the free offer to talk to me in person, just right now, grab that mobile device and you can do one of two things. You can log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and once there, you're just simply going to click on that Let's Get Started button. That information will be confidentially sent to our offices in Bowling Green, and you will be contacted to do one of two things. Either one, you and I can have a free 10-minute fiduciary phone call to see exactly what's going on, and if it warrants, we then will meet in person. That's right, the owner of the company, Tony Walker, I will meet with you in person at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. You can also just simply call the toll-free number on your screen. Yes, even if it's during the weekend, we have a live answering service that will take that information, transfer it to our offices first thing Monday morning, and we will contact you immediately. So take control of your finances, take advantage of this free, no obligation opportunity to talk to me in person, and we'll look forward to hearing from you soon. Well, speaking of hearing from you soon, that's all the time we have right now. But you remember, between now and next week, from the time we're going to see each other then, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.